A man shot another man through a hotel wall while he slept and got away with it for years. Not in a duel, not at high noon, through a wall. That is the Old West. Nobody put on a movie poster. Hollywood gave America the fearless gunslinger. History gave us something much darker. Men who killed from fear, pride, money, revenge, and sometimes simply because the myth around them had already gotten too dangerous to escape. Here are 10 facts about the real gunfighters that Hollywood buried and the ugly truth that replaced them. Fact 10. The marshal who shot a man over a card game. The quick draw duel almost never happened. The image is burned into every Western ever made. Two men, empty street, high noon, first to draw wins. In real life, most gunfights broke out in cramped saloons, dark alleys, and gambling halls, soaked in whiskey and bad blood. Ben Thompson, one of the deadliest pistol hands Texas ever produced, was serving as elected city marshal of Austin when a card game grudge in San Antonio turned deadly in 1882. He shot and killed theater owner Jack Harris, was indicted for murder, and resigned his badge before being acquitted at trial. 2 years later, he walked into that same San Antonio theater with his friend Kingfisher, and both men were shot dead from behind within minutes. An ambush, not a fair fight. Hollywood needed the open street because a man dying in a dim hallway does not sell popcorn. Fact 9. The outlaw who became the lawmen and outlaws were often the same man wearing a different badge on a different day. Kingfisher ran 100 outlaws across a lawless strip of South Texas, rustling cattle and killing at least 11 men, some of them his own gang. Then he cleaned up, became deputy sheriff of Uvalde County, and died in that same theater ambush beside Thompson. The frontier did not care about your resume. It cared whether you were useful today. Fact 8. 4 dead in 5 seconds. Being a hero marshal could get you killed faster than being an outlaw. Dallas Staudenmeier took the marshal job in El Paso in 1881, a town so violent that lawmen rarely lasted a season. 3 days into the badge, he was caught in a gunfight that left 3 men and 1 innocent bystander dead in under 5 seconds. A burst of gun smoke and screaming that newspapers later called 4 dead in 5 seconds. He kept killing and kept order for a while, at least 9 men by the end, and El Paso finally breathed easier because of him. Then a feud with a powerful local family caught up with him, and he was ambushed and shot dead in 1882. Courage did not save him, it just made him a bigger target. Fact 7. The vendetta they don't show you. Wyatt Earp was not the clean hero the movies sell you. Earp is the face people picture when they hear gunslinger, thanks to the 30-second gunfight near the OK Corral in 1881. But Earp was also a gambler, a man with a shady reputation in more than one town. And after his brothers were shot in retaliation, he rode out on what became known as the Vendetta Ride, hunting down suspects across the territory and killing some of them without a trial. That is not law and order. That is a blood feud with a badge attached. Fact 6. Killed in the dark, not in the street. Billy the Kid was a frightened kid who never stopped running. Born Henry McCarty, he lost his mother to tuberculosis around age 15 and killed his first man at 17, a blacksmith who had been bullying him. His legend claims 21 kills, 1 for every year of his life. He is commonly linked to 9 deaths, although only 4 are generally attributed to him alone. In the other cases, he participated as part of a group. He got swept into the Lincoln County War, a bloody fight over who controlled the local economy, joined a group calling themselves the Regulators, and helped kill a sheriff. Pat Garrett had been waiting in the area for him at a ranch in 1881, but Billy walked into the dark bedroom unexpectedly, and Garrett shot him before he could react. Not a duel, a chance encounter that ended in someone's house. The legend needed a myth machine because the truth was a scared young man dying in the dark over cattle money. Fact 5. Shot in the back. Over a card game. The most famous quick draw in American history was not even the deadliest way Wild Bill Hickok killed. Hickok did face Davis Tutt in the street in Springfield in 1865, dropping him from 75 yards in what many call the first true showdown, a duel that later magazines stretched into legend. But his end tells the real story of the West. In 1876, while he sat with his back to the door playing cards in a smoky Deadwood saloon, a drifter named Jack McCall walked up quietly and shot him in the back of the head. Hickok never turned around. The cards in his hand, aces and eights, became known as the dead man's hand. The deadliest gunfighters did not die facing their killer. They died the way most people in that era died from violence, not looking, not ready, and never given a chance to draw at all. Fact 4. The vigilante whose brutality became legend. Some of the most brutal men in the West operated outside the law entirely, doctors of terror rather than doctors of justice. Clay Allison, a Tennessee farm boy, was a rancher, trader, and gunfighter known for his participation in vigilante violence, not a lawman. There is no reliable evidence he ever served as a sheriff, marshal, or deputy. His military record described serious behavioral or neurological problems, which some later writers have linked to an earlier head injury. Though a direct connection to his later violence cannot be proven, he is said to have taken part in the lynching of suspected murderer Charles Kennedy, and later accounts claim Kennedy's head was displayed on a pole in a saloon afterward, though this is not securely supported by contemporary evidence. He led vigilante mobs during a land dispute in New Mexico known as the Colfax County War. In 1874, he sat down to dinner with a gunman named Chunk Colbert, and when Colbert fumbled reaching for his gun mid-meal, Allison shot him dead. Later stories attribute to him the line that he did not want to send a man to hell on an empty stomach, though this quote is not verified. He died in July 1887 after falling from a supply wagon and being run over. A later memorial marker placed at his grave claims he never killed a man who did not need killing, though the words were not written or approved by Allison himself. Ask yourself who decided that. Fact 3. The assassin who wore a bulletproof vest to church. Not every gunslinger was fast or brave. Some were paid killers with a price list. Jim Miller, nicknamed Deacon Jim because he never drank, never smoked, and went to church every week, wore a steel breastplate under his black coat to stop bullets. His confirmed killings sit around 14, though some historians believe the real number reached far higher, since Miller worked as a professional assassin, charging up to $1,700 a job. In 1909, he was hired to kill Allen Augustus, Gus Bobbitt, a rancher and former deputy U.S. Marshal. For that price, he got arrested and a mob dragged him out of his jail cell and lynched him. His last words were, "Let her rip," and he jumped off the box himself. Fact 2. The killer whose guilt is still disputed. Tom Horn worked as an Army scout, a Pinkerton detective, and later as a range detective for powerful Wyoming cattle interests who wanted rustlers eliminated quietly. He has been credited with as many as 17 killings, but this figure comes from later accounts, and no reliable total can be established. In 1901, 14-year-old Willie Nickel was shot from roughly 300 yards, reportedly mistaken for the boy's father. Horn was convicted of the murder, but there was no eyewitness or physical evidence directly placing him at the scene, and historians still dispute his guilt. While drinking in a Cheyenne saloon, Horn spoke to Deputy U.S. Marshal Joe Leefors, who encouraged him to talk while a hidden stenographer and another witness listened and created a written transcript. Horn's statements were indirect, but were later treated as a confession. He was hanged in 1903, one day before his 43rd birthday, his conviction and execution standing as historical fact, even as the extent of his killings and his guilt in Nickel's death remain contested. Fact 1. The deadliest gunman never saw it coming. John Wesley Hardin was not a folk hero defending Texas honor. He was a killer whose own hatred fueled a body count that historians place somewhere between 20 and 40, depending on the source. He killed his first victim, a black man, at 15, and many of his other victims were black or Mexican, killed during a period thick with racial violence following the Civil War. In one infamous incident, he shot through a hotel wall to silence a snoring guest and killed him instantly. He served 16 years in prison, studied law behind bars, and passed the bar exam. Then, in 1895, while he stood at a bar throwing dice in an El Paso saloon, Constable John Selman walked up quietly behind him and shot him in the back of the head without a word. The deadliest gunman in the West did not go down fighting. He never even saw it coming. Hollywood needed men like these to look brave because a nation built on frontier expansion needed a myth that made the violence look noble. The truth is messier. These were frightened, damaged, and often cruel men who survived because reputation kept enemies away, until the one mistake that got them killed. That is, the West nobody wanted to film.